So recently I've been getting into fantasy fiction. I started off with the Stormlight Archive, which is a brilliant series, 100% recommended, and I wanted to go a little bit further because the next book in the Stormlight Archive series is going to be coming out 2 years from now. So I decided that I'm going to start reading more and more fantasy fiction. So I picked up an interesting little series which is known as 5 Kingdoms. It's written by Brandon Mull, who is a new author. I've never heard of him before. If you have, that's amazing, spectacular. He's written 5 Kingdoms and apparently also Fablehaven and Beyonders series. So if you've heard of any of that, brilliant. So Brandon Mull has written this book about, I think it has 5 parts. Yeah, 5 parts. And it's titled 5 Kingdoms, with the first book being 5 Kingdoms Sky Raiders. Now, I have 2 of these books and I read only the first one, so I had a few things to discuss. So sit back, relax, this will be fun, I promise you, and enjoy the video. Cole Randolph is just trying to have fun with his friends on Halloween. Everything goes wrong on Halloween. But their trip to a neighborhood haunted house turns out to be the start of a wild adventure when Cole watches his friends being whisked away through a mysterious passage. Cole dives in after them, only to emerge somewhere that's very clearly no longer Mesa, Arizona, which is where he lives. He soon learns that he's come to a place called the Outskirts. Made up of 5 kingdoms, the Outskirts lie between wakefulness and dreaming, reality and imagination, life and death. The balance of power in the 5 kingdoms has been upset, and the magic there is becoming unstable. It is up to Cole and an unusual girl named Mira, M-I-R-A, pronounce it however you want, to set things right, rescue his friends, and hopefully survive long enough for Cole to find his way back home. So I read that synopsis before I bought the book and I was like, that's an interesting, simple, straightforward, cheesy plot, and it's a good thing for me to read, say for example, before I go to bed every night. So I grabbed the first 2 books and I finished the first one, so here I'm about to talk about it right now. So what I just explained to you was the basic gist of the story. Cole Randolph is a child who went on a Halloween party with his friends and it turned out to be horribly wrong. His friends were kidnapped, taken to a place that is in between life and death, reality and imagination, and is a place where they were going to be sold as something known as shapers. Shapers are, to explain to you simply, basically people who can do magic. They're able to create lifelike objects or create things, which is called shaping. So that's one of the basic things that's in this book, shaping. Like an absolute genius, Cole dives in to go right after them without getting any sort of external help at all. Though we have to note that it wouldn't have been useful to get external help because anybody who disappears into the outskirts, nobody remembers them. People forget about them and people ignore their absence. So Cole dives in after there only to get himself caught while he's trying to rescue his friends. So he gets sold to a bunch of people who are known as Sky Raiders, and they raid floating castles in the sky which have all sorts of loot, treasure and magical items. That's the basic gist of the book, and he's a boy who tries to fight his way through so many problems, meets a girl named Mira who appears really mysterious, and later on he realizes that she is part of something much bigger than he ever imagined, and he has to help her defeat a really powerful monster along with 2 of their friends, Jace and Twitch. All 4 of them have set out on a journey to kill this monster because Mira needs her powers back. I'm not going to explain anything more because that ruins the twist in the book. So that's the basic facts of the story. That's the story laid down in front of you. Now let's talk a little bit more about what I want to say. First of all, there are a few inconsistencies with the book. The first one being, which is quite astounding, that they are all 6th graders. They are literally aged 11 to 12, all of them. All of them are aged 11 to 12 years old. And for an 11-year-old to be doing this, fighting a scorpion slash spider sort of thing in a flying castle with a sword, jumping, nearly killing himself, seems quite unfathomable to me. In fact, even when I read the 6 of Crows series, which is incredibly dark and dystopian fantasy, I tried to imagine the characters greater than 17 and 18 years old. I tried to imagine them in their early 20s because that makes their dark backstories a little bit more believable. When you put your characters a little too young for what they should be doing in the story, it kind of creates that feeling of unrealism. You cannot imagine a 12-year-old flying through a castle with a sword fighting a scorpion, a giant scorpion, running on the walls of a castle and nearly killing himself on several occasions. Another thing to note is that all the kids in this book are incredibly ready to kill. They're ready to kill everybody around each corner. Whenever danger comes, they threaten to kill the soldiers, they threaten to kill the people, they threaten to kill everybody around them. There was a quote in Harry Potter by none other than Albus Dumbledore where he said that killing is not as easy as the innocent believe. I find it hard to believe that sixth graders have enough courage to kill somebody. It takes a heart of stone, a cold heart of stone to kill somebody, and I'm finding it really hard to believe that they have it. But maybe they do, because they've been working for people have treated them brutally, and yeah, okay, they've got some sort of resistance, and they are cold people, cold and callous and calculating. Fine, I accept that. However, the physical feats themselves that are in this book are hard for a 6th grader to do. All of this drama actually starts when they go for a Halloween party in Mesa, Arizona, into a haunted house. And when they go into the haunted house, a shady looking guy walks up to them and he's telling them, if you really want to see what's scary, go down to the basement. That's red flag number 1. He takes them down to the basement and locks the door behind them. That's red flag number 2. They go down to the basement and there's a weird looking man over there. He's unhygienic, he's fat, he's sitting there, and that entire basement is empty other than that one man. That's red flag number 3. If the 6th graders are capable of making the quick decisions that they do make in the future in the book, the split-second decisions they make, the quick analyzing of the environment and the action that goes on in this book is quite nice. But if they could make those quick decisions, and if they were so smart, how did they miss these 3 red flags? Go down to the basement, the door is locked behind you, and there's a shady man, and there are kids screaming in the basement, and they're telling you not to come there. That's when you know that something is wrong and you need to get out there as fast as you can. They didn't even try to do that. They got themselves captured in like 3 seconds. They didn't even put up a struggle. That was like a 2-second thing. So as you can see, most of my inconsistencies with the book just revolve around the fact that they are young. Had the main characters been about 16, 17, 18 years old, this book would have been phenomenal. I don't think there are any other inconsistencies in the book other than the fact that at some points it feels very rushed because the characters just seem to have this plot armor, as it's called, the main character protection. They are able to do whatever they want. So at times it feels that that sense of realism, that sense of hardship that a character has to go through, the pain, the anger, the emotions bubbling up inside them, just doesn't come out. Apart from that, the storyline is really interesting, and it's easily for the ages 12 to 16. Anybody can read it in that age group and anybody would find it interesting. I guess that might be a reason for putting your characters to be 12 years old. Overall, The 5 Kingdoms is a really good series, and I've only started on book 1, so that's saying something because I'm already impressed. I hope they can keep up with this level of action and this level of the plot for the next 5 books, the next 4 books. If it is, then it's an absolutely phenomenal series and I'm going to keep reading it. So that was it for the 5 Kingdoms book, a book that you may or may not have heard of before. And I found it really refreshing to read something that is not full of dark dystopian storyline, which is basically the storyline for Hunger Games, Maze Runner, Six of Crows, Shadow and Bone, and some parts of the Stormlight Archive. They're also dark and dystopian sort of things. You just really want to leave them at some point. So this is a good break from all of that. So if you're looking for a fun, light novel to read, this is a good one to grab right away. I'm going to be reading the 2nd book soon enough, and I'll bring you a review of that too. I wish I could just fall through a trapdoor and go to a different world. It'll be better than studying. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.